Canister stoves suffer in cold conditions because as the stove operates, the canister actually cools down due to evaporative cooling. That evaporative cooling creates a feedback loop that further slows the burn rate. And what happens is ice builds up on the outside of the canister, further cooling the stove down, further slowing down its burn rate, and becomes very inefficient. If you're trying to boil large volumes of water or otherwise need a longer burn time, if you're melting snow or something like that, then you may never get your water boiled, or it may take a really long time. One way to combat this is by operating your canister stove in a snow pit. So the pit I've dug here is deep enough so that when the canister is down in it and my pot is on top, the top of the pit is higher than the top of the pot. And it's just wide enough that I can operate the canister stove without getting burnt. The smaller the pit diameter, the more effective it's going to be at retaining heat. Now the whole point of this is to create a small microenvironment where wasted heat from the stove warms up the rest of the pit and creates a feedback loop that keeps the canister warm long enough so that you can get your water boiled. For even better performance, make sure you insulate your fuel canister from the snow by using a piece of foam. Here I have a piece of 1/8 inch thick craft plywood. It weighs about 1.5 ounces. So we'll put the plywood in the bottom of the pit, and then the stove can go in. And as you can see, my pit's not quite deep enough here, so let's dig it out a little bit more. Now we can see that the top of the stove is below the top of the pit, and that's about ideal. The only issue with this pit is that it's a little too small, and it's going to be hard for me to operate the stove in the pit without getting burnt. So what I'm going to do is just dig a little bit of a channel here using my trekking pole, just kind of a notch, so I can still reach down there, light the stove, and operate it with the fuel valve. Okay. Okay, now I can reach down off to the side here, open the fuel valve, light it, and put my pot on, and you can see how that groove allows me to access the stove. Okay, now I have a nice warm environment where the water can boil, and the wasted heat off the canister is warming up the temperature inside the pit. Very effective way to use a traditional sit-on-top canister stove in winter temperatures.